What's up, everybody, and welcome to the live stream. I'm your host, Jesse Showalter, and I am dealing with some technical difficulties this morning. Just a couple of technical difficulties, but we're trying to overcome. This stream is currently streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and it was supposed to be on Behance, but it's not. So having some struggles with the Behance stream. Thank you guys for joining me this morning. Really excited to have everybody. We got people jumping in the chat. Let me know where in the world you are coming from and throw me your favorite emoji, because we got people like Arunava and Char and Curtis Morrow, Char B. What's up, everybody? Again, let me know where you're coming from. Having a lot of fun this morning. Okay, yeah, right before I started the stream, my computer decided to take a little nap on me, a little bit of a nap, and so I had to do a full restart to try to get things going. So hey, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for being part of the stream. People come from Germany, from India, Buenos Aires, from London, from India, again, all over the place. Super fun. All right, like it a lot. Let's see if we can move over and get everything else set up. Should be able to. Everything's all right. All right, we're cruising. We're cruising right now. Well, hey, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning my time. And if you are interested in sticking around, then right after this, we have a members only live video hangout that I'm going to be doing with my YouTube members. So if you're not a member, hit this little bluish join button, become an insider or supporter, support the channel and the content that I make. And then you can go into the community tab there on YouTube, and you'll be able to find all the information about how to join that live video chat. Hang out with me, ask me questions, get real time with me and a other group of people. That could be lots of fun. So with that being said, let's jump into the topic of the day. The topic of the day is design careers. Hopefully some of you out there are interested in design careers, improving your design career, growing, maybe getting a promotion, maybe transitioning from one thing to the other. That could be a thing that you're working on, and I'm here to help you with that as much as I possibly can. Yeah, do I have a schedule for these live streams? I do live streams just about every single Friday right here at about the same time, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. So please join me. We answer questions. We do all sorts of fun stuff. And each stream, a lot of times the streams are a little bit different. So you never know what you're going to get. It could be on one topic or another, but today's topic is design careers. So I got a little bit of a presentation we'll be walking through. They're just talking points for us, but feel free at any time to shout out a question in the chat, and we'll try to get there. I have also the opportunity for you to get your portfolio reviewed at the end of this stream. Simply go down in the description, find the link to my Instagram page, DM me. Okay, DM me on Instagram your portfolio, and hopefully I'll be able to pull it out, throw it on the screen, feature your work, and give you a little bit of feedback. All right, so let's do it. Let's move in. What do we got today for design careers here? Who wants to get hired, or who wants just to improve their design career? I know I do. We all do, right? So here's what we're going to be talking about today. Here's some general talking points. We're going to talk about starting out, types of jobs, interviewing, progressing in your career, and the difference between freelancing and full-time work. All right, so that's the idea. It's the plan of action for today. Let me know if you guys are out there, if you're following me, if everyone's doing okay. Okay, sounds pretty good. Let's move on. Let's start with this little statistic that I like. 100% of jobs will leave you feeling unfulfilled. So don't find your identity in your job. This is a big one. Before we talk about career, before we talk about interviews and salary and all this kind of stuff, please understand that jobs, positions, work will never fulfill you. That and if you try to find your identity in your work, that you will always feel unfulfilled. You know, there's a story of a man named Solomon, who is the wisest man on earth. And he spent his entire life with all of the wealth and all of his access to power and money doing the things that he thought would make him happy, but it ended up only making him more unhappy because he never found the real truth, the real thing in life that made him happy. So it can't be your job. It's got to be something else. Wink, wink. You know what I'm talking about. That's absolutely true. It's got to be something else. So here's a little quote, though. When it does come to work, find out what you like doing best and get somebody to pay you for doing it. That's the whole idea of a design career. If we're not doing that, what else are we doing, right? You shouldn't be working in the design field if you don't love it, because it can be tedious. It can be hard, right? It's its own thing. It's tough to navigate. And so you got to make sure that you like doing it. And if you like doing logo design, if you like doing illustration, if you like doing these things, the best thing you could do is just get somebody to pay you for it. I think it was the Joker in the Batman Returns with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger, may he rest in peace, who said, never do something for free when you're good at it. That's right. And so if you're good at it, or if you love it, then progress, become good at it, get somebody to pay you. That's the whole idea. That's what we're talking about here. Somebody said, I love that quote. Well, I love you, and I'm appreciative of your support. Jesse, do you have a team or persons who assist you doing these live streams because they're amazing? No, I don't. I just do them myself. That's a great question. But it's just me. It's just me sitting here in my office doing my thing. So that's a great question, though. Thanks for asking. Jesse, do you plan to release any courses, boot camps in the near future? Aru Nava asks, hey, guess what? Yes, I do. In the very, very near future. I'm thinking back to school time frame. Stick around, because I might have a big announcement for you in the next month or two that I may have partnered with a very awesome company or a very awesome community. We might be releasing some design content with some possible boot camp and mentorship stuff attached to it. Okay, I can't say anything more about it. We got to wait. Okay, I'm really excited. Let's talk about starting out, okay? Let's talk about honing your skills, making contacts, all this kind of stuff. So let's start there. Let's start with honing your skills. When you're just starting out, this is so many of the questions that I get. I get questions all the time. Look at this. I asked some questions on Instagram the other day. Check out all of these questions that I got on Instagram when it came to design career stuff. And so many of them had to do with, what do I do when I'm just starting out? What do I do if I haven't ever worked in the industry? And how do I get started? Okay. The answer to that is, the short and sweet answer is, you got to get your foot in the door somehow. So you need to start honing your craft, honing your skills. The old saying is 10,000 hours of mastery, right? So you need to be, if you want to be, I'm just going to speak, if you want to be a web designer, you need to be designing websites in some way, shape, or fashion every single day to gain and grow those hours of mastery. So that's a big one. You got to hone the skill set. And while you're honing that skill set, you have got to start making contacts. And those contacts, I'm not trying to bundle these together, but they're kind of bundled together. Those contacts will allow you hopefully to do some free and some cheap work. Okay, so that's the idea here, is we need to hone our skills, start making contacts that will help us to do free and cheap work. Here's the simplest form of a contact. Okay, a contact could be your mom. It could be your aunt or your uncle, right? Somebody that maybe they're starting a little side business and they need a website. Maybe they have some sort of like church or nonprofit group they're a part of. Maybe that group needs a logo and you could do it for free. So we start making contacts with our immediate network, and that immediate network will start to span out into a greater network that leads you from free work to cheap work, and on you go. Hello, Abernale, the youngest designer in the live stream today. I think Abernale, how old are you? Like 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that. He joins me in a lot of my live streams. So happy that you're here. Bax says, your videos helped me make my decision to switch career paths into product design. Still working on designing my portfolio. Oh, we may be talking about a little bit of that in a little bit. So that's a lot of fun. Here we go. We're going to keep talking about free work, cheap work. Last night, I did a fun kind of hangout stream. And here's what somebody said on the fun hangout stream last night. Do some work for a 501c3, a nonprofit, and it's tax deductible. Oh my gosh, that was a piece. I think it was Wizza Studios that made that suggestion last night during my live stream. Abernale's 9 years old. Amazing, mind-blowing. So there's nonprofits out there, young, small 501s out there who maybe need you to make like some marketing materials, like maybe do a little bit of website work, whatever it is, do it for free. You can write that work off as a tax deduction in your taxes. I'm not a tax expert, but in the United States, most likely, and probably other places as well. And then you get some experience working with clients. Whoa, what an idea, right? And so from all these things that you're gonna do, you're going to also be building a portfolio. And I would suggest at the same time, be building not only a portfolio, but be building a brand. Let's talk about portfolios really quickly. What could be inside of a portfolio? Well, a portfolio could be as simple as a Behance page. That could be a thing. It could be as simple as a Behance page or a Dribbble account. It could be maybe even like a printed out portfolio. Doggone, like do whatever you need to do, but you need, after you start kind of honing those skills, making those contacts, doing free work, cheap work, nonprofits, you need to start putting those things into a presentational form, and so that you can show that to more people, parlay that into more work. You know, when I first got started, I was doing band flyers and the worst design work ever. It was so atrocious. But I used that and parlayed that into an internship at my church. And then from the internship at my church, I did things that I put into a portfolio, and I got my very first paid job as an in-house graphic designer at a tour company with a printed out paper portfolio that I had. Websites were around at this point. I didn't have one. I had a printed out portfolio. Okay, this was like 14 years ago. And I submitted that, got the job with church work, intern work, and concept work. So don't say you can't do it. It can be done, because I did it. Okay, so build that portfolio. And while you're doing it, start getting on social media and building a personal brand. I heard a quote the other day. I was listening to the Smart Passive Income podcast, SPI podcast, with Pat Flynn. Amazing podcast. Not sponsored, just really love him. And he had a guest on who was a social media expert and a personal branding expert, and said that personal branding, 75% of millennials feel more comfortable buying a product if it's sponsored by somebody who has a personal brand. Check this out. But that like something like 30, I think, I don't want to misquote. Don't quote me on this. It was something like 25 to 30% of companies feel more comfortable hiring a person who has a personal brand, hiring somebody. So you start building a brand on social media, on Instagram, on Twitter, and it creates a level of trust and authenticity about you. So portfolio, personal brand. It's not just in case you want to be a social media influencer. No. That's not what we're doing. Build a brand, build trustworthiness online, and you're more apt to get hired, the statistics say. Super interesting. Here's my last bit of advice I would say is, I would love it if you would start applying before you are ready, okay? Apply before you're ready. Everybody thinks they're not ready. And the truth is, you probably are ready, okay? And even if you're not, you learn a lot through the applying process, okay? So everybody staying with me out there? Okay, so even if you're not ready, you will learn what it is to be ready by acting like you're ready or trying to be ready. So don't say to yourself, oh no, I'm not ready. I could never apply for a job. No, apply for that job. Put that application in. Go in on that interview. Go to that interview and see what kind of questions will be asked that you may not have expected, you may not be ready for, but maybe by the end of the stream, you'll have heard some of those questions, okay? So apply before you are ready. That's my advice there, okay? Hey, let's stop and take a couple of quick question and answer times with Jesse, okay? All right, we had a question here on my Instagram by Home Emotion that says, how many projects should I have in my first portfolio to find a job? How many projects? I say 3 to 5 projects, and those projects should be specific to what you want to get hired for. So if you're trying to become a web designer, don't put a lot of packaging design, logo design, poster design in there. You want to have 3 to 5 website projects if you're trying to get hired as a web designer. Portfolios should always be geared towards the companies you want to work for, the type of work you want to do, the type of clients you want, projects you want. It should be geared towards you and the value that you bring within that niche. So I say 3 to 5, most current, best and brightest, that have to do with what you want to get hired for. That is a great question. Arunava says, can you explain more about building a brand? I couldn't quite get it. Sure. Building a brand, I'm just going to use myself as an example. Like 4.5 years ago, I decided to start a YouTube channel, okay? And I decided to start that YouTube channel because I wanted to be helpful, okay? I wanted to help other designers and creatives out there who were in the same space that I was in years before and just maybe needed a little bit of help. Advice, tutorials, learn this thing, understand that thing. And so my personal brand started to be built around Jesse is the helpful guy online. That's who I am, right? And I like to help people. I like to talk with people. I like to meet with people. Somewhere along the lines, subscriber count started to grow. I started to post stuff on Instagram that would be helpful. That started to grow. And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people come to my portfolio right now, and they go, Jesse, you don't have a lot of work on your portfolio. And you know what? It's because clients are now coming to me. I get emails every day or every week of people asking me if I can participate in work. The work that's available on my portfolio is my dribble stuff, is a couple of pieces like on Behance and a few client testimonials, and people are still coming to me for work. Why? Because I have a personal brand. So what you want to do is be consistent online, give value online, give consistently online. You want to give. You could probably read Gary Vee's book, The Thank You Economy, or also there's another book, what's the name? Patrick Hanlon has a book called Primal Branding that everybody should read. I think everybody should read Patrick Hanlon's Primal Branding because it talks about building this personal brand. It's more than just wanting to be like an Instagram influencer. That's not what it's about. It's about establishing yourself as an expert in the market and then consistently putting out value. It starts to transform and change the way that people view you. So that's what I would say, okay? Okay, Josh Sims says, should your portfolio be different if you're looking for freelance clients as opposed to applying to work for an agency? Absolutely it should be different, Josh Sims. Not great amount of differences. It should still be the type of work you want to do, your best and brightest, your most recent 3 to 5 projects probably. But the difference between a freelance portfolio and an agency portfolio is you probably don't, if you're trying to apply for a large company, an agency, something like that, you probably want to put things in your portfolio that talk about what role you played on the team, how you can be a good team player, how you can integrate and everything with the team, right? And there should be verbiage about how you're trying to work for that type of position and so on and so forth. The verbiage should be geared towards that. Your role in the project should showcase those things. Whereas on a freelance thing, both of these types of portfolios should probably highlight the value that you bring, leads, traffic, revenue, so on and so forth. But the freelance thing also probably has to do with like easing a potential client into the process because they're probably trusting a freelancer, most likely for the first, maybe second or third time with a project. They need to know what it looks like to work with a freelancer. So you want to have some of that stuff on a freelance portfolio versus I'm looking for a full-time position portfolio. Hey, those are great questions. That was question and answer time with Jesse. Let's get back to the topic at hand, which is design careers. These are all great questions. Let's talk about types of jobs, okay? I want to talk about the different types of jobs that you could be applying for. We got things like in-house designers, marketing and design agencies. We talked about a little bit. Startups, large companies, contract jobs. These are all different types of jobs, and I'll just share with you a little bit of my experience working in these jobs because I've worked quite a few of them. I've worked out as an in-house graphic designer. I worked at a marketing and design agency. I've worked at a startup. I've worked freelance. I have never actually worked for a very large company, nor do I want to because that's my thing. So this is the first thing to talk about. There are different vibes working in these different areas or these different types of work, okay? And those areas might affect you because that's your personality. So I've never wanted to work for a very large company. I've gotten offers from very large companies, which I won't name, but like very large, like Fortune 500 companies have asked me to like be full-time for them. I'm like, I don't want to do that because I don't like working in a place where not everyone knows my name. That's my personality that comes out. So that you need to figure out what you like best. Now you might need to figure that out by doing a bunch of it. Okay. I realized that when I worked, the closest I ever got was working in-house for a pretty large company. And I was like, oh, this is teetering on me not liking this. So I'm more of like the freelance, startup, maybe marketing design agency kind of guy at most, but more like the startup and the freelance guy. That's what matches my vibe most, okay? There are differences in probably the pay when it comes to these things, right? And I'm not, honestly, guys, I'm not going to talk about like a lot about finances and pay. I'll mention it a little bit, but there is probably some differences here, right? If you're an in-house junior graphic designer, obviously that's very different than being a lead or senior UI designer at a large company like Coca-Cola. These are different things, but they probably have more to do with your experience and your skill set and your ability to lead than they do with the company themselves. Now, if you're going to work for a small mom and pop, you're probably not going to make high six figures. So just keep those things in mind. So I would say that the type of job that you work has to match your personality, and you need to have some expectations of what they're like. So let me just share a little bit of expectations on this small list of things you might be able to expect working in these places, okay? Let's start with in-house designer. If you're working as an in-house designer, you most likely are maybe like one of a small team of designers, if not the only designer, depending on the size of the company. But, you might have to wear a lot of different hats. So you might be doing website design one day and print design another day. Who knows? It really depends. But you come in every day, you clock in, you do your work. So you can expect your schedule to be pretty regular. And you usually have some sort of like manager over you, or you're directly connected to a manager or somebody who's making kind of decisions, and they need you to create a bunch of deliverables for the company. Okay. So that would be like an in-house designer. There's some great examples online of people who are like in-house designers. So for instance, like Charlie Marie, who's on YouTube, she's a marketing designer at ConvertKit. I would consider her an in-house marketing designer. She shows up every day. Seems like they're a little bit bigger than a startup. And she has tasks that she needs to complete. I've watched a bunch of her vlogs. She's amazing. She's wonderful. And it's really interesting to see her work in her day-to-day. I would say she's kind of like that in-house position, right? Okay. But then you have like the marketing design agency aspect of things, which I've worked at. And that's showing up. It's kind of like being freelance, except you don't manage any of the clients, right? You show up, the agency is landing clients, right? And they're landing those clients and then handing you the piece of the work that makes sense for you to do. So when I worked at a marketing or design agency, I was the digital designer or the web designer guy, and there was people who specialized in package design and print design and logo design. I think there was about a team of 6 or 7. And so we would get like an entire project, like for instance, like a nonprofit, or something like that. And somebody would go to work on the branding, and then we would take that branding package and morph it into the website and the marketing materials, and everybody had their piece to play, right? But you're still kind of showing up and doing what you're told. But it does feel like you're working in a large team, kind of like in a freelance co-op kind of mode. So that's kind of marketing design agencies. I worked for a startup for 3 years. Startup is great. It's one of my favesies actually, because it kind of feels like it, depending on the startup, if you're a new startup, it's like make or break, right? Like it really, everybody's got to work hard and a lot of things depend on you. Okay. So that's kind of startup life. But the team camaraderie, I would say, is really, really unique in a startup. Everybody wants to make it happen. There's like a lot of startups really try to make a huge effort at that team vibe, that camaraderie. But as a designer at a startup, I could wear lots of hats and show up and do UI design, which is what I was hired for. But then I got turned into like UI design, marketing design, art direction, motion and graphics. I could do anything and everything. Front end development, web design, depending on the day, right? At startups, you have to be ready to pivot to do a lot of stuff. If you like that, like I do, it's exciting. Not every day's the same. Maybe it works for you, right? So startups can be tumultuous though. So if you watch one of my videos a couple years ago, out of nowhere, the startup just couldn't afford to pay me anymore. So they're like, sorry, we got to let a bunch of people go. So it happens sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, especially if you're on the early kind of ends to a startup and it's growing. A large company, can't speak to it because I never worked for a large company. But the people I do know, I know some pretty prominent designers who have said, man, get me out of here. And then I know some people who work for large companies that love it because it has that stability, and you kind of just show up and do your thing. If it's a very large company, there's probably room for progression, like in the company, and being able to get, just level up at the company. So those are kind of some of the differences, I would say. Okay, now depending on which one of those sounds interesting to you, you might have to interview. So I want to talk about interviewing just a little bit, and then we'll get back to some question and answer time here in a second. Let's talk about interviewing. You should prepare before you go into an interview. So, it's not a bad thing to ask a loved one, a family, or friend to sit down with you and do a little bit of preparation. Like an actor has friends like read lines with them before they do a play. It's not a bad idea for you to ask somebody, hey, sit down, ask me a series of questions, and maybe even provide them with a series of questions. I'm going to provide you with a list of questions. You could have them ask you these questions and see how you do. Maybe even film yourself while your friend is interviewing you, to prepare, to see, do you have any weird tics? Do you say a lot while you're talking to people? Do you look down at the ground? Do you pick at your nails? These are all things that you can prepare for the interview process, okay? So I think it's just smart. A lot of people just think like, oh, I'm going to go into this interview. No, you should definitely prep. Let's talk about interview questions really quick. This is a general list that I'm about to bring up, but be prepared to be asked some questions and be prepared to ask questions, okay? So here's a couple of good interview questions you might be asked, okay? You might be asked to describe your creative process. Now, if you don't have a creative process, you're going to go, I just make stuff, and that's bad. I've actually interviewed designers to hire them before. I've hired designers. I've asked this question, okay? So describe to me your creative process. Go. You need to have an answer for that. You need to have a process. So sit down, think through your process a little bit. How do you get unstuck creatively, okay? This is different for everybody. There's actually no right or wrong answer. There is a right or wrong answer to the previous question. The only wrong answer actually to it is just not having a process, but any process is probably a right one, okay? And probably the process should match up with the company, what the company's expecting to be a process. That'd be nice. So here's what I would say. When you're preparing, do some research on the company, right? Don't just prepare generally speaking, but if you're preparing to get hired at a startup, research a little bit about that company. Stalk the people that work at that startup on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. Maybe they made a video about it, posted on YouTube about their interview process. Watch those things. Prepare, okay? Get really ready to prepare for those things, okay? So how do you get unstuck? That's one you might experience. To what degree in the past have you been involved in the conceptual or strategy phase? Now, this is a time for you to be honest. I haven't, or I have, okay? And then, but don't downplay any small part that you've had in the strategic or conceptual portion of it. Maybe you were just asked a few questions in a team one time and you came up with a good idea. That's good. Mention that. Okay, talk about those things, okay? Elaborate on them. One of the things you're going to see in an interview is you need to be not long-winded, but you need to be able to elaborate on something and paint a clear picture. So if you're not used to that, if you're not comfortable talking and figuring out how to say something succinct and clear, maybe you need to work on those things, because some people interview better than others, but this is something you can work on. It's something that you can get better at, okay? Tell us about a time when a client disliked your work. Hey, let me just give you a really quick warning. This is not the time to trash previous employers or trash previous clients or tell this person who's interviewing you that you're always right and everybody's always wrong. I want you to keep this in mind. When you are interviewing, they're not only looking at your work, but they're looking at your personality. They're wondering, is this the type of person I want to work with? Okay. So the type of person they're interviewing is a person that just trashes everybody and says everybody else is stupid. They were the worst job ever. They're going, oh, is that how you're going to view us? Interesting. Okay. So have a little tact, have a little candor. Okay. When you talk about how people dislike them. Maybe even fess up to some things you did wrong and how you've learned from that. Hey, so you could say, for instance, a client one time didn't like the way that I presented the work. They were really uncomfortable. They were unsure at the end of the day whether or not this was the right work. And you know what I've learned? I think it was the right work. I think maybe I didn't do a great job of explaining the value that this brought to them. And I've since learned that that's really important. Wow, look what a great explanation that is. You fessed up to some fault. You've shown them you're a human being. You're not prideful. You're humble. You love to learn. You love to grow. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so just think about how you might answer these things. This is why you prepare. How do you stay organized when you provide with multiple design assets, files, ideas? How do you stay organized? Do you have a system? You need systems and processes. A lot of things really boil down to that. What kind of questions do you ask before beginning a design project? Which piece of information is of utmost value? This is a good question, a sneaky question. Okay, let's go back to it. How do you, what questions do you ask? Notice the key word there. What bit of information do you need or are you looking for that's of utmost value to you? This is them making sure that you design with information and not just, snazzy dribble shots. That's what this means, okay? So keep that in mind. It's important. It's very, very important. So just keep that in mind, okay? That if you don't have a process, if you don't have a system, if you're not used to designing things with actual client needs, you need to get some of that experience, okay? Tell us about a time when you've had to balance multiple competing priorities. That's just about time management. Time management is a big one. So they need to know that you're able to organize yourself. And a lot of job interviews or job listings, it'll say self-starter organized. That's a real skill that not everyone has, and you need to work towards having that skill possibly. So think about that. Tell us about the project which has been your greatest achievement. This is a time not for you to brag, but it's a time for you to be proud of something. And here's a crucial thing, in my opinion. It shouldn't be, I made this the prettiest ever. This is the time when I got to do what I wanted to do. No. What could be a good answer to this question is, my greatest achievement is when I was given this level of responsibility. And I felt like I really stepped up to the plate, and I was excited about that because I love taking on new responsibilities. Or, the thing that I suggested and put into motion and designed or created or whatever, it ended up creating this much value in the company. And I love being of value, right? So these are, again, interviews are so much about what type of value you want to bring to people, okay? What kind of rules, culture, or structure need to exist to foster team collaboration? Okay, I'm going to give you a hint on this question. This is the question we're looking at. What kind of rules, culture, or structure need to exist for good team collaboration? If you're applying to work at a job in a team, they want to know, A, are you a team player? And B, are you a leader? Are we gonna be looking at you later on to really grow in this company and be a leader? So do you have thoughts about leadership and team environment and how to foster like a good environment just in general? Do people want to work with you? Do people want to work for you? These are great questions that you need to consider. And what kind of qualities do you look for in a manager? So these are just some examples of some good questions, okay? Here's some other things you need to be prepared for, okay? You need to be prepared to do some sample work, possibly. There's nothing wrong with doing a take-home project. A lot of times companies will pay you for it. A lot of times they won't. It just depends on the company. But be prepared. They might say, hey, we have a design challenge for you. Take this, bring it back in 24 to 48 hours. That's a thing, okay? Be prepared to talk through your work, to speak about your work. And when you speak about it in a value-based approach. Not, this is pretty, I chose this color palette because I liked it, but you need to speak about the company and the effects and the value that you brought. Always value, okay? Presentation and dress. Okay, this is something people are I think overlook a lot. When you go to an interview, you should consider how you dress and how you look people in the eye, how you shake their hands. I know we're not supposed to read a book by its cover, but everybody shops for books by their cover. So, present well, and maybe need to kind of prepare yourself for that. But that's the thing, okay? So I remember one time I went on an interview to work at a design and marketing agency, and I was like, I need a new pair of shoes. And I went out and I bought a new pair of shoes because all the shoes I had were raggedy. And I was like, I'm not wearing a raggedy pair of shoes. I was super broke at the time because I was a broke freelancer and newly married and we had no money. So I was like, I'm going to go drop like $50 on a nice pair of dress shoes. And I wore that. And the interviewer was dressed down, but I don't care. I dressed up and I made the investment. And the investment paid off because I got the job, okay? Here's one that people don't really think about. You should have questions to ask. And I don't have a list of them, but if you're going to work for a position, you should have questions to ask. For instance, here's some questions you might ask. What would a daily kind of like, what would a normal day in the life of somebody in my position look like around here? What does advancement look like around here? What does collaboration look like? And how can I ask for challenge, get critique, and feedback? What places and spaces have you created for people to voice discomfort with culture? These are questions you want to know. Here's the thing. A lot of times we go into interviews and we feel like people are going to interview me. I have to have all the right questions, but you should be able to interview them. You should want to know that this is the right place. And people appreciate that because they know that you're not just looking for money or a paycheck. You're looking for a home, okay? I just hit my chin on this thing. You're looking for a home. And you want a place that you feel comfortable and that you vibe with well, that your personality meshes with well, so that every day you come to work and you're excited. Let them know, I want to come to work every day and be excited and be gung-ho and bring value. I want to know that this is the place for me because I don't want to take a job that's just a paycheck. I want to take a job where I feel like I'm valued and I bring value. So ask questions around that, okay? It's important. A lot of people are like, no, I don't have any questions. Boom, red flag. You don't have any questions? What do you mean you don't have any questions? This is potentially the place, you might be spending the next 2 to 20 years. What do you mean you have no questions? Okay. What does pay look like? What does structure look like? All that. Ask those questions, Here's one. Be prepared for multi-step hiring processes. The bigger the company, the more steps, most likely. Like if you're gonna, I one time went through a hiring process at Instagram. Just I didn't want to work for Instagram. I just want to know what it's like. I'm sorry, Instagram. I wasted your hiring manager's time. But I went through it and it was going to be like a 6-step process. It was going to be like initial interview. Okay, you sound like you might be like workout. We'll do another interview where, you show us your work, prepare a presentation, prepare a deck for us. Then we'll have you talk with our design team. Then we'll have you talk with a manager. Then we'll do another interview, follow up and narrow it down. Be prepared, okay? If you're working for a small mom and pop, you probably won't have that many. You might have one, maybe have 2, right? So, so just kind of think about that. All right. Expectations. So just have proper expectations. I don't know what I was thinking when I put that in there. But hey, no, you don't need an art degree. You don't need an art degree to work in the creative industry. It's not, you could have an art degree. Maybe that helps. Maybe that helps you understand color and different things like that, but you don't need it. Let's talk about progression, getting promotion, growing skills, all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about getting a promotion. You want to grow on that, rise up on that ladder. You want to climb that ladder, okay? If you want to get a promotion, and I would also kind of double this up if you want to increase your rates as a freelancer, okay? Here's what I would say. You need to earn it and you need to ask for it, okay? You want a promotion, don't sit around and wait for other people to give you a promotion. If you're working in a large company or you're working for a startup or something, walk up to your manager, whoever's directly in charge of you, and say, hey, I've been working here for an appropriate amount of time. Maybe you've been there for a year and a half or whatever. You're like, and I feel like I want to move up in responsibility. So what do I need to do to get a promotion and offer more value to the company? What do I need to do? You tell me. And they'll say, that's a great question. We need to see you do X, Y, and Z. Great. Thank you. I'm going to start doing X, Y, and Z. Ask for it. Ask what you need. So many people are afraid. Okay. So many people are afraid to ask for a raise. And just ask. It's not rude. It's not personal. It's business. It's your career. And you're saying, I think I earned it. I think I deserve it. I'm interested in more. Let them know. There's a lot of people who don't ask. And so there's a lot of managers who are like, I don't think they care. I think they're happy where they're at. So ask, set the expectation. But to do that, you probably need to grow your skill set too, right? Okay, so you can't ask for a promotion if you don't deserve it. And so you might need to grow your skill set at work. You might need to do a little bit of extra work outside of work to grow your skill set to merit that promotion or increase in rates as a freelancer. Grow that skill set, okay? So get the experience that you need to deserve those raises. Let's talk about contract negotiation. This is another one. There may come a time if maybe you signed a contract for a certain amount of years, or maybe you've just worked there for a while and you've been in the same position it's not inappropriate to ask to renegotiate your contract. If you deserve it and you feel like you've put in the time. So ask for that. Say, hey, I'd like to have a conversation about renegotiating my contract. And keep this in mind, okay? You can negotiate anything. You can negotiate anything. You can walk into a car dealership today and it has a sticker tag, like price on the car. And you can say, what if I pay cash and I buy it right now? Can we get a lower price? Just because it says it on the sticker doesn't mean that that's the price. Negotiate it. Get good at negotiating, okay? Hey, you can negotiate anything. One time when I was working at a marketing agency, I renegotiated my contract and they said, how much of a raise do you want? Because we think you deserve one. I said, I don't want any raise. I want to work 4 days a week instead of 5. And I got Fridays off. Every Friday I was off. I would leave the office and everybody else would still be working. I had constant 3-day weekends because I renegotiated my contract as such. You can do it. It's amazing. It's awesome. Okay. So, just let it be known you can. Okay. Okay. So we're getting close to getting done, and then we're going to have to speed through the rest of this because I have a members only live stream or video chat that we're doing. And when you go there, if you sign up to become a member, you will get access to go to the community tab and you'll see a post in there that has everything on there. It should say members only post, and you'll be able to join me in a chat. I'm using a system called Whereby where we can do video chat. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. So make sure you join me for that. Okay, cool. Let's get back to what we were talking about here with progressing. How to shift and when to leave. These are important. Okay. How to shift in your position, when to leave your position. Okay. Here's what I mean by shifting. It's time to shift in your company when you are bored at work, when you no longer love what you're doing. There might be a time when you're able to shift kind of horizontally in your company and say, hey, I'd like to take on a little bit more of this and do a little bit less of this. Is that possible, company? I love working for this company. I'm just finding more of an interest here. The larger the company, the more area there probably is to shift. And just generally speaking, like, it's possible for you to shift, most likely. You might have to wait, and you might have to do it gradually, and you might have to apply for it even, but there's possibilities to shift. Don't just keep coming to work if you don't like it. Consider shifting. There's also a time to leave. You don't like the company culture, the way, the type of job, whether it's large or small, is not working for you anymore. You want something different. You don't see a future there of promotion or growing or progressing. Maybe it's time to leave. That's not a bad thing. It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to leave. Okay. And then here's the last topic we'll be talking about for today. Abernell says he can't sign up for Whereby. It's showing an error. Okay, well, we'll have to go look at that in a second and figure out why that's not working. We'll try to figure it out. I don't know why it's not working, but we'll figure it out. We'll get it going, okay? So let's talk about freelancing versus full-time, okay? There are similarities and there are differences. Let's talk about the similarities and differences really quickly, okay? The similarities are you're going to have to do the work, okay? Don't get fooled, okay? When you are freelancing, or when you don't look at Instagram and see people working in coffee shops and go, it's so great. They probably work like 3 days a week and they barely work. No. You still got to do the work. You still got to grind. Actually, there are seasons where you'll have to do even more work. Okay. Because it's all on you. Accounting's on you. Marketing's on you. Client acquisition's all on you. All of that stuff is on you. So, you have to pick what's right for you, but there are some similarities, and the similarities are you're going to have to work, okay? The differences are that you'll make your own schedule. You'll take on the types of projects that you want to do. Like if you don't like a client, you could fire a client as a freelancer. You can't necessarily fire your employer or say no always to work that you have to do. When you work freelance, sometimes it can be lonely. Sometimes it's just you. And when you work for a company, you might be able to go in and be with other people and have that collaborative kind of environment. So keep that in mind. Let me see what else is some similarities and some differences. Here's a huge difference when you're freelancing. Insurance, healthcare, 401k, all that stuff's on you. Paying your taxes, doing your finances, it's all on you. It's a part of it. So you have to now become a business person. Whereas when you're working for a company at full time, you get to just be an employee and do what you do, and they do all the business for you. Okay, so if you're like, oof, that gives me anxiety and stress, I don't want to worry about, taxes and filing and doing all that stuff. I mean, you're gonna have to file your taxes either way, but healthcare and HR, then you might want to work for a company. Okay, let's talk about shifting from one to another, and then we'll finish with that. If you want to shift from one to another, just be ready. Be ready for those differences. Be ready to expect the unexpected, okay? If you've done nothing but work in full-time companies and you've decided, I'm going to try a season of freelancing, get ready for some feast or famine. Get ready for a different vibe of work. Get ready for loneliness. If you've done nothing but freelance, or you maybe freelance for a really long time and you want to transition over to working in a company with other people, get ready to not always have things be your way. Get ready to not have full control over a project. Get ready to be told what to do sometimes, right? So, just be ready as you shift from one another. But here's what I would say over all of these things in your design career: don't be afraid. Listen to me. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for a raise. Don't be afraid to ask for what you deserve. Don't be afraid to try things that are new. Don't be afraid to shift or leave. Don't be afraid, right? It's your career, and like that quote said, you want to go in every day and do something that you love. And the creative industry, I feel like no other industry has the ability for you to do that on a daily basis. If you're not loving what you're doing in the creative industry, then you're probably doing the creative industry wrong. There's a way for you to do it. You need to figure out how it works for you, and it's different for everybody. But the general advice I can give to everybody is that don't be afraid. It's gonna be okay. So keep grinding, keep working, work hard, have a good work ethic, and then offer value, build your brand, grow as a person, grow as a worker, and grow in your skill set. And then don't be afraid to take some risks and some chances out there. Okay. So with that being said, we might do a little bit more Q&A, and then we are out of here for the day. I don't think we'll have time to do portfolio reviews even. Oh no, I feel so bad. It's okay, because I didn't get a whole lot of requests for portfolio reviews anyways. So let's answer a couple more questions. Hey, if you have questions, hit me up, throw it in the chat right now. I'd love to answer that question. I have a couple on Instagram that we might be able to answer right now. This one comes from Ash Kersey. As technology moves forward, what's the best way to evolve or expand your design career? Ooh, that's a great question. A lot of people are asking right now, hey, are no-code tools going to take all the jobs of people who like to do front-end development or yada, yada, yada? No, it's not going to. Now, you can carve out a niche for yourself using certain technologies, but I think one of the best things to do is learn what you need when you need it. I think that's really like my advice. So you don't have to learn everything all the time, but if it pertains to what you're doing or want to do, you might have to learn some technology. The best way to evolve or expand your design career is to not get too far out of your stack, right? I call myself a full stack designer. So I like to do web design, UI design, UX design, a little bit of front end development, a little bit, right? Will it behoove me to learn the newest back-end technologies? No, it doesn't. But it does behoove me to learn some awesome no-code tools that'll help me pump out marketing websites way faster, because now I'm making more money if I do that, right? See how that works? So expand your skill set and learn things that are inside of that stack or that skill set. That's what I would say. Let's answer another question from Rebecca here in the chat on YouTube. What courses does a graphic designer have to do to become a UX designer? Yeah, that's going to be a little bit different, right? Graphic design is really visually based, visual communication. You're working with colors and textures and basic design principles, whereas UX designers are working more with psychological principles, right? Like user flows, wireframes, how users interact, user stories, user journeys. So you might want to maybe take like a course, like a basic boot camp course. There's probably some decent courses. I would check out, who's really kind of crushing it in the land of UX right now is Eliza Todd on Instagram. Let me pull. She's my homegirl. I've seen her a few times. Let me see if I can find her online really quick. Nope, that's not her. Let's go Instagram. Pull up the Instagram and see if we can find her. But she does tons and tons of stuff like General Assembly and Eliza. Where are you? Where are you? Not Todd. Is it not Todd? Oh boy. Doggone it. Well, I'll have to find it and post it later. I forgot Eliza's last name and I'm failing right now. So yeah. Oh, there he is. There she is. Eliza UX. Okay. I'm going to jump over and show you. Super funny. Super awesome. Definitely check out Eliza UX. She's a UX educator. She does stuff with General Assembly. She's an XD, I think she's kind of an XD trainer, Adobe XD trainer. So she talks all about UX portfolio. She's much more specific to UX. She's great. So check her out if you're interested in learning things about UX. So there's all that to be said, there's a lot of free stuff you can do before you go take a boot camp or a course or something like that. Okay. Google does have a new UX course. Maybe consider that. Could be cool. So maybe, that's coming from the Googles. So they're pretty big on UX design for sure. Okay, let's do one more question and then we out of here. I got to prep for our members only video meetup and hangout. So please join. If you have not become a channel member, consider it. Could be pretty dope. Okay. Could be a lot of fun. If you would consider, because then you get to join. You get things like free design files from anything and everything that I do. You get all sorts of stuff. I see Curtis is going to join me. Abernail is going to join me. I see Joe Marsh is going to join me. We've got a couple people just signed up. They're going to be in the video hangout today, so that's going to be lots of fun. Join me. Okay, how to land a job after being out for quite some time. That's a great question. I actually did a video on this, so cringeworthy. One of my first videos on my YouTube channel. You will just cringe watching it. But it was my second video or first video. And it was how do you get back into the industry after being out of the industry for a while? And I would just recommend refer you to that video, because I had some advice read lots of stuff, immerse yourself in lots of things. Study up. Here it is. Let me jump over. Oh, can we just do a quick cringe of a video of mine? Let's do a cringe reaction. Ooh, this is when I thought everything had to be a vlog. Look at this. I was still living in Hawaii at the time. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Got some. This was free YouTube music. Ooh, what's up with that? This video still only has 942 views. Okay. This is me going to work at the startup that I worked at. Ooh, look how cool. Yeah, right. Not cool. Ooh, that audio quality is brutal. Also, look how slow I talk. I just didn't know how to talk to the camera yet. Ooh, yeah, real slow. Anyways, so you can watch this video and just cringe at how awful. Look how young I was. That was only 4 years ago. Look how young. January 2017. Oy vey. Okay, so yeah, you can watch that. There's 7 ways to reboot your career. Check that video out on my channel, okay? All right, thanks everybody for joining me. I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you guys for joining me on this stream today. If you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Twitter or any of the other ways that you are streaming this, I certainly appreciate you guys joining me. I had a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to be here. If you are interested, if you want to know more or you want to grow in your career, you feel like you need some help on that, you can always jump over to superpeer.com/Jesse Showalter, and you can book a 30-minute or 1-hour paid meeting, and I'll do consultation with you and help you grow in your career, whether it's freelance, trying to land a job. You can learn all about that here, what you'll get. But yeah, that's a way that I do stuff, is there on Superpeer. So I really appreciate you guys joining me. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. And to those members in the crowd, I'll see you in about 35 minutes or so there on the Whereby members only video hangout. So talk to you guys next week. Stay tuned for more stuff. Love you guys. Take care.